talk about fears. Let's talk about love. Yeah, I got fears, but I ain't got no love. Yes, I got fears. Fear of plane crash. Fear of car crash. Oh, fear of sex. Fear of alcohol.
Okay, it is Friday. Friday means that we're going to look at some comments and questions that you have for me. And in this case, it is Casey Anthony. So let's start. I'm going to read some and we'll go from there. Let me adjust this a little bit. Okay. Misha Dawn. She is a member. I'm always kind of surprised that George and Cindy remarried. Or remained married. This kind of tragedy often destroys marriages of people involved. I am sure that they are the only two that truly understand what they have endured. It's a shame. The whole case is a shame. Yes, I'm surprised by that too, especially because they seem to obviously have differing opinions about what happened to Caylee. But I think deep down inside, I think Cindy knows, and she's protecting her daughter more than George, the former police officer who got thrown under the bus by his daughter, is. So it is surprise. I do see anger in a couple interviews between them, but I think that's because they don't agree on things. Teresa Garrison. Casey didn't have an argument with her father. It was an argument with her mother, so she took Caylee and went to her boyfriend's apartment. Okay, the research that I did showed that it was with her father the day previous. So maybe my research was wrong. The source that I got it from, I believe, was the trial transcripts. But maybe not. You could be right. I won't argue with you. Regardless, she had an argument, right? Arguments sometimes are a receipt for disaster when it comes to homicide. And regardless, she had it. Jessica Hutchins. Narcissists will make up heinous lies about anyone, especially those closest to them, in order to shift guilt or blame off themselves. You are correct. Judy Holiday. I listened to all your videos, however, I have to pass on this one. I was very involved in this case to the point I know someone that was close to this baby killer. I hope you give Caylee her justice because that slack arse jury didn't. I understand your frustration. I'm not trying to give justice to anything or anybody. I think, I'm just reviewing the case and giving my opinion on what I think. So, I'm sorry that you can't watch this. Miranda Freights Healy. Zanny the nanny. Question mark. Ken definitely knows what kind of nanny that is. Well, I explain it, obviously, in the deep dive. I believe that was the nickname for Xanax. And, again, doesn't take a detective to figure that out. I mean, 3/4 of you people know that. And I believe that was the nickname she gave, and she was probably giving her Xanax all along, calling it Zanny the nanny. Lacey, really interested to hear your take on this sad case, Ken, and learn facts without BS. Thank you as always. Well, I try. Breezy Bradford, I think the sticker and kiss on the duct tape and wrapped in favorite blanket, someone close. I always thought it was an accident, so manslaughter or second degree, but I am no expert, sir. Looking forward to your breakdown. Well, thank you, Breezy. Okay, what I would say on that is it appears that there was an imprint of a heart on that duct tape like a sticker of some sort, but when they retested it or reanalyzed it, they could not find that again. So I do not have an opinion on that. I don't know enough about it to say, where that is. The duct tape is curious because I am sure when they did the search warrant at the house, they were looking for the duct tape. Now, me personally, I think I would have articulated enough probable cause to search the boyfriend's house where that she was staying and look for the duct tape there as well. Because it's my understanding they never found the roll where it came from. Much like John Benet Ramsey. So, I don't know what else to say about that duct tape. It came from somewhere. I would have went to, and maybe they did. I'm sure if they were thorough enough, they did. I would have went to all the local department stores. Not only checked to see if Casey herself purchased it, and if she did, you're probably looking even further at premeditation. But look at George. Look at, most men, if they're handy, if you go out in their garage, you're going to find a roll of duct tape. So when you're doing that search warrant, if that house was absent of duct tape, his garage was absent of that, that would make me even more suspicious than I would be if I found the duct tape roll there. Does that make sense? Faith Sedgwick, the mother noticed the smell. She was a nurse. Well, I'm sure she noticed. But just because somebody's a nurse or an EM worker doesn't necessarily mean, especially a nurse, they're not always going to know what the smell of human flesh smells like. How many oftentimes does a decomposing body get brought into the ER or to the hospital for that matter? It's mostly first responders, police officers that know that smell because they find that in houses or, where a body's been for a while. That's how I know that smell. I went into a house one time. A guy had been there for, I think a year, maybe 6 months. And it was a different smell than I had smelt. It's varying degrees of decomp. This guy, he was like leather. And he had been in a controlled temperature. And it was different than what I had previously experienced. So it taught me something. Remember, everything's a teachable moment. And for me, it was, hey, just somebody's been dead a while. Past the decomp gas release stage, you might not smell anything. This was not the case here. TL, I absolutely love the way you say guilty. And I also love the new format. Can't wait to see your opinions on this. Thank you. Casey Anthony should go missing and nobody should look for her. John Mancuso. Dragon Claws, that lawyer of hers, the word sleaze came to life, gained a form, and started walking around. Yeah, I mean, I get that. And I've had that feeling a lot of times with defense attorneys. But I've come to realize not everybody sees things the way you see them. So you have to be able to, I guess, not put your feelings into it. Like initially, I hated all defense attorneys. Hated them. Hated how they acted. I hated how they attacked people on the stand, including me, whenever I had to testify in cases. But I come to realize, hey, their passion is to protect the clients. That's their job. Now, there are some sleazy attorneys, and they really encompass that dynamic, but there's some really great attorneys that just do their job. It's a fine line, I think. And I'll leave it at that. I will say, and this is my opinion, if an attorney, whether it's Jose Baez or anybody else, and this, well, I'll just stick with this occupation as an attorney, is allowing their clients to give them sexual favors in return for their services, without a doubt, 1000%, I would call them sleazy. And they should be disbarred in any other actions that are taken. I'll leave it at that. DF saw the judge of the trial, interviewed last week. He said the cadaver dogs and the smell of the chloroform in trunk was enough for him. Plus saw her bodyguard. He said she was incredibly selfish. Well, all those things are pretty much true, and I believe that. I had somebody else, and I want to get this because I might not see it on here, ask me about the reliability of cadaver dogs. Listen, I've seen cadaver dogs alert more when nothing was there than I have when there was there. See how I am completely honest. I could certainly say, hey, I think Casey Anthony is guilty because of these reasons, and I could sit here and basically lie and say, well, cadaver dogs are always reliable. I've always seen them, but that's not true. On the Hunt for the Zodiac Killer show, if you watch, I believe it was episode 3, where we're looking for the remains of Donna Lass, those 3 different cadaver dogs alerted in the exact same spot. We dug and there was nothing there. Now, does that mean nothing had been there? They're alerting for a reason. So, and we're talking years, decades. In this case, with her trunk, when it's fresh, I believe in the reliability of that cadaver dog in the Casey Anthony case that alerted on that trunk. But I didn't need that cadaver dog. All I needed was those police officers to say there was a dead body in there. That's all I needed. Now why? Just because they're cops? No, that's not it at all. Again, remember, it's not about the prosecution or the defense. It's about the truth, okay? So, when you have a group of 4, 5 police officers, and they all agree on that smell, I don't need a cadaver dog alert there, but they did the right thing in doing that. And then also taking the sample from the trunk. They did everything correctly. There's no doubt in my mind that there was a dead, decomposing body for some period of time in that trunk. Can you please take a look at Natalie Holloway case? Thanks. Okay, so I want to bring this up. As you know, I probably get hundreds of requests weekly, if not daily, about cases to look at. I'm never going to run out of cases. You're just not. But if you're an elite member of my channel, not only do you get to request the case, I will do that case. It may not be a week-long episode. You know, it might be a Saturday thing where I just sit down, look at it, and do that for you. But I also respond to elite member and premier members' comments. So just in mind, take that for what it's worth. But Natalie Holloway case, yes, it intrigues me. I think Vandersloot, or whatever his name is certainly responsible, but that's from the outside looking in. Edith Castle, you missed one of the most critical pieces of info. Cindy visited her father at the nursing home, where Cindy found out that Casey had written a bad check on the grandparents' account. Cindy and Casey got into a choking fight when Cindy returned home with Caylee, and that is when she left with the baby. Okay, well, See, that corresponds with that first question that I had earlier in this video, that it wasn't the father. George is mistaken on the days. Casey left with Caylee that night, according to what Cindy first told. Then she never mentioned the choke fight again. If you look on the web sleuth at that time, I don't look at that stuff, sorry, you will find a lot of info of what was happening at the time. Okay, first off, when you say George is mistaken on the days, how do you know that? Like, what source is that from? Is it from a trial transcript? I mean, he could be mistaken, certainly. But again, I'm not going down rabbit holes to unnamed sources or people that say make up stuff. You know, I need facts on that. Regardless, okay, there was a fight about things and she took Caylee and left. That's all I need to know, okay? I don't care what it's about. Her stealing money, her stealing gas, whatever it is. She's a thief. She's a liar. And I don't know what that comment will do to move the case or my assessment, change it any differently. I don't think it does. They got into a choking fight. Does that say anything to me? No, I mean, it goes along with the dynamics in that home, which was not good. And I think Cindy was an overbearing grandparent. You know, I think she was one of these grandparents who think that she's the parent. And I think that rubbed Casey the wrong way. That's my opinion on that. Phoebe Beach. My favorite part, she leads him through the halls of corporate offices, waving at people. Has to finally turn to the cops and say, I never really worked here. Wow, the set on her. Yep, I agree. I mean, man, she's a liar. Pathological, in my opinion. Laura Sear, sometime in the near future, could you please look into the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case? I kind of did, but, you know, I'll leave that to the other people out there. It's not a cold case. And I did a video, a quick one on Gabby in a Q&A because people were requesting that. So you'll have to go back in the videos and look. Lucano Lalo, this isn't a cold case. Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it there, Lucano. I would say that a cold case to me is any case where there's doubt. Not one that's just unsolved. And this case had doubt. It had doubt in my mind, not only as to who did it, but why, and the motive, and how it happened. So that's why I looked at it, and that's why I believed it was a cold case. Claire, I still find it truly unbelievable that any jury let off Casey Anthony. Well, I think your sentiments are echoed by a lot of people. Darlene Agena, Hombaker. Duct tape around the skull does not equal accidental, in my humble opinion. Love your ethics. Hard to find people who think the same way in this day and age. Well, and I said this before, and I'm going to put usually in front of it. You usually do not stage an accidental death to look like murder. However, that's not totally impossible. It could have been staged to look like a kidnapping. I'm not sure on the duct tape. There's many possible. Listen, when somebody reacts, when something happens, people do things that you just don't know why they do it. Okay? That duct tape certainly could have been used as a murder weapon going across the nose and mouth to smother. But why? It had to have been done while she was either sleeping or incapacitated, or she would rip the duct tape off, right? That only makes sense. Could it have been used to keep her quiet? Certainly. Could it have been used to make it look like something it wasn't? Certainly as well. But the fact that duct tape was used and was attached to that child's mouth and nose at one point in time, or at least mouth, I mean, that area, certainly would lead one to believe it's not an accident. David Page. Oh, good grief. Are you going to blame George again? I didn't blame him to begin with. I don't know what you're talking about. This case had more evidence to convict Casey than necessary and beyond a reasonable doubt! Exclamation point. Cindy lied repeatedly in open court to benefit her daughter. She should have been prosecuted for perjury. It smells like there's been a dead body in the car. Yes, it was Caylee. Okay. I agree with you. I don't know why you're getting mad at me, saying I'm going to blame George again. I didn't blame him to begin with. Janina Carter, the prosecutor, did a terrible job presenting the case. I watched the whole trial live and thought there was no way the jury could find her guilty on the case they submitted. Everything was suspicious but never proven. We all know she did it, but they still have to prove it, and they didn't try. Well, I disagree with you. I think they did try, and I think that they did a commendable job, and we will agree to disagree. Johnny B. As for expert witnesses giving scientific opinions, the expert witness for the defense sometimes make their whole living for supporting the defense all the time. In other words, pay me my fee and I'll say what you need me to say, basically. I will say that that is probably true. I don't have any evidence of that until one of those experts came and sat down and said, that's what I do. I just take money and I agree with whatever they say. I'm not going to believe that. Although I would be naive to believe that that probably didn't happen. Nate Green, your content is good, but your intro is pompous and cringe AF. Well, Nate, thanks for your opinion on that. But I will respectfully disagree with you. And if you don't like it, move on. The thumbnail of this video makes me sick to see her sneering like she always did. Yep, that's why I put it there. Holly Hold, I can't wait to hear you apply the Detective Maine's method to this very troubling case. The trial, not just the acquittal, left me feeling very unsettled. Well, I tried to apply my method. Hopefully, I did it for you, and you weren't disappointed. Mark Mack, she did it. Case closed. Nadia Zaroon, watching you on the Zodiac Killer. We had a case locally where the father decapitated his kids. When people were concerned, called police for a welfare check. It never happened. But when they called to say the smell a gas leak, everyone showed up and they found the kids. Okay. Lisa Faulkner, still hoping you'll review Darlie Routier's case, so I'll mention it again. She's on death row in Texas. Thanks for another weekly challenge, Detective. Well, Lisa, Cauteraz, Cheryl Hamilton, BSE, Tribe B Bill, all that agreed with her. I will let you in on a little secret. Darlie Routier's case is next week. I'm going to do it for you. Mama Tried t-shirt. Whether you're being honest or sarcastic as related to this case, I love that shirt. Well, somebody did pick up on it. That's all I got to say. The laundry bag. Yes. Again, everything came from that house. That tells you something. Okay? It should tell you something as an investigator. It tells you there's no intruder. It's from inside that house. Just like John Benet Ramsey. It's from inside the house. That's what the evidence shows. All right. I think that is all for these questions right now. I could probably do another hour or so, but let's get to Jim Aiken. I believe that Casey Anthony had been using chloroform to put the baby to sleep so that she could go out and party. I think that in her ignorance, she overdosed her child and killed her. I don't think she intentionally killed her, but she still should have gotten a long prison sentence. See, that's what I originally thought, Jim. But then I look at her behavior during the time that the child was dead. Those 31 days. Missing or dead. She was dead. There was no remorse. If she accidentally killed her child, I believe there would be remorse there. I didn't see that. And that is why I think it was premeditated murder. If that makes sense to you. What I am struggling with, and I'll bring this up now, and I'm going to talk about it. Why it's on my mind is the gas cans that Casey came and took. Whose vehicle did she come and get those gas cans, and why? And were they full of gas? Because her car runs out of gas. That's why it's abandoned. I need to know more about those gas cans. They bother me. Because if she was getting them in order to not have to buy gas to put into her car that ran out of gas, okay. If they were empty and she was going to get gas with them, okay. Was it the same car, the Sunfire, that supposedly had the decomp smell in it? Because if so, is she putting those gas cans in the back of the car that was already smelling like a dead body? Because there was. If not, if that would mean that Caylee was not dead yet, or dead in another location. You see what I'm saying? We'll have to do some more research on those gas cans in that time period. Buzzy Street. If the kid were drugged to make her sleep, there would be no reason to wrap her head with duct tape. Or her head wasn't wrapped in duct tape. Okay? It was just the mouth. And possibly nose area. And if she did drug Caylee, wrap her head in duct tape, and lock her in the trunk, well, that sounds like murder to me. Either way, the woman is a real piece of work. There's my girl, Colleen Dahlman. The duct tape could have been placed on the child after death to make it look like a kidnapping and subsequent murder. And I never said it wasn't murder. I just stated that I don't believe Casey intended to murder her daughter, just to keep her quiet and out of the way. That's all. I agree with you. Again, I disagree with that because of those 31 days, there was no remorse. To me, it was premeditated murder. But I understand where you come from. Mary Lore, my wild guess is that Casey used the duct tape to make 100% sure she was dead. She was in shock after accidentally killing her and didn't want to do something violent like put a pillow over her face, etc., and probably had duct tape already in the car. It's a good theory, but again, I think it was premeditated. All right. There's a bunch of questions that I answered. Again, I don't know how many questions and comments are on here. There's quite a bit. I hope to answer most of them. And if I didn't get to them, I'm sorry. But, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll do a follow-up to this case. But I'm really tired of talking about Casey Anthony this week. No doubt in my mind she's guilty of this. And I don't like her. And I hate to say that. I never met her. I won't be that judgmental. If I was younger, I would have said that. But the older I've got, there's people that get on my nerves when I see them. And I say I don't like them. And that is wrong. You never judge a book by its cover. Now, granted, what she did was the most absolute, horrendous, horrible thing ever do in the world. But I'm not the judge of somebody. Would I want to meet her? Absolutely. I'd love to sit down with Casey Anthony and talk and get much like I did with Diane Lake from the Manson family. When I sat down and talked with her and I peppered her with questions about Manson and his psychology and her psychology for staying there when the murders took place and all these things. I did the same thing with Casey Anthony. So, but again, I say that there's certain people, Rosie O'Donnell was one of them, that I just didn't like for whatever reason. But I've come to realize I don't even know the people. How can I hate them? So now, that I am quote unquote famous for my TV shows and this and everything, there's a lot of people that don't like me and they express it. And I get angry because I'm like, dude, you never even met me. If we went out and had a beer, it might be different. That's what got me to start saying, hey, I can't be judgmental when I've never met somebody. So, but you guys all know what I mean by what I said about, she bothers me. Okay? All right, that's enough for this week. I'm done with Casey Anthony. Look forward to next week where I'm going to do Darlie Routier and what she allegedly did to her two sons, age 5 and 6. And it'll be another emotional, draining week going forward. I hope you're learning. I hope in a way this not only teaches you, but as true crime fans, you are enjoying the content that I'm putting out there. There's not too many people like me on YouTube, I've heard, that have the experience that I have and doing my own show. And the reason I'm doing this is because my own show was supposed to be on ID Discovery, I think, and we had almost a deal worked out with some things, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And there were some other networks that MTV, believe it or not, was one of them that I was going to have my own show on, and it didn't work out. And I got tired of it not working out. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to rely on the networks. I'm going to do my own show, and I'm going to do it on my own channel on YouTube, and that's why I'm here. Now, I would like to get into, some B-roll footage and videos and editing and all that. So it's not just me sitting here talking. But I'm not a video editor. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that work. I just want to sit here and give my opinions. Now, if there was somebody out there that maybe was good at video editing and B-roll footage and all those things. Something that I would look to do maybe in the future, to turn this into a more of a show instead of a talk show, if that makes sense. So stay tuned, because in the future I see big things for this channel. You know, I might be able going to these locations and doing things too. So stay tuned. So I'm out for this week of, thank God, no more talk of Casey Anthony. So, hey, you know what's next, right? Main's out.
Oh.